Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to go through the Virtual Dokkan Ultimate Clash Special Planet Namek Saga Edition. So it starts off with a Gohan Kid who reduces received damage and grants immunity to being stunned. Obviously, as always, mono-type teams are going to be your best bet in these events because generally they will take on the stage and be able to handle everything that they throw at them, because they have immediate type advantage. So we're going to use an extreme physical team here to take him out. The first couple fights are not too hard. Honestly, it's the final fight against Frieza where there is clearly the biggest difficulty increase. I'll be honest with you, everything else was really about as normal for a virtual Dokkan clash as can be, but Frieza is quite a long fight and can definitely catch you by surprise if you're, not rocking a good team or anything. So we'll quickly dispatch of Gohan, not really too concerned here with him, but it is one of those things. I noticed throughout the virtual clash that there is, a pretty normal level of difficulty, and then of course it just for some reason seems to jump up when you get to Frieza, but I mean that's okay. It's not really the end of the world. It's just something that you need to make sure that you zone in on. Try to take 2 Super AGL teams. That's generally the best bet, and then you should be fine to go. The next battle is against Vegeta. Vegeta grants himself reduced damage, immunity to being sealed, and stunned. Stunned and attack and defense lowering. So pretty straightforward fight as well. Nothing too crazy here in terms of Vegeta. Very similar level of difficulty to Gohan. I tried to use the Ginyu Force to take out either of these guys, and they almost did it. Got a little bit unlucky and died. So they're not that much harder than the normal standard Virtual Dokkan Clash. Maybe a little bit tougher. So if you are used to using the Ginyu Force for the first battle like myself, just realize that this is a tiny bit of a step up, but beyond that you shouldn't have too much of a hard time. In terms of Vegeta, he doesn't seem to do anything too special. A lot of them don't seem to have that many gimmicks. There's some transformations for the most part, which are definitely present throughout, and it's definitely a collection of battles from the series on Planet Namek, but doesn't look like there's many gimmicks, like hard gimmicks, in the terms of things like Babidi, who used to seal all your attacks so you could only normal attack, etc. Just basically there's nothing too gimmicky from what I've seen. Just a couple of them transform, so really overall not too much of a big issue. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So there we go, that's Vegeta out the way. Obviously I'm rocking decent teams here. I think you could definitely knock the level down on the teams I'm running, especially for the first couple fights, and definitely pretty much everything but Frieza. I had to pretty much run the full strength team for the most part. Could have definitely put it together a bit better, but for the most part had to run a full strength team. So we've got old Zarbon here. Zarbon again also doesn't really do too much of note or out of the ordinary. He's just got his immunity to being sealed or stunned, I should say, and he can't have his defense lowered. So nothing too crazy from old Zarbon here, and he also transforms as well. He'll transform once you take out his health, and then he will, become the Mega Chunk Zarbon, basically. So, nothing too crazy with Zarbon here. He's really not that difficult. Even after transforming, he's just kind of there. So he can have his attack and defense lowered, so he's really only immune to stunning. That's really about it. So if you are concerned about him, you can bring a sealer that will help you keep control of the fight, and you shouldn't really have too many issues as long as you do that. So we'll have a good old Demon King Piccolo transform here, which is pretty cool. Don't get to see it a lot. Obviously, all of the units from the planet Namek Saga, most of them are Dragon Ball Seekers, because obviously finding the Dragon Balls was kind of a big deal back in the day of Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, most of them are Dragon Ball Seekers units, which is fine. It makes units like Demon King Piccolo super helpful if you take them in. Obviously his damage reduction is going to stop any damage as well, and he'll do some decent damage on the way out. So yeah, not too bad. Like I said, Zarbon seems to be pretty damn weak. It's not like we're doing high attack stats, so you can see you can still seal him in his second form. So really it was quite easy. Just make sure that you bring a sealer. You all have the free-to-play Gildo, who is a sealer and a attack lowerer and a defense lowerer, so you shouldn't have too many problems. You should be more than fine, really. And yeah, that's round 1, or stage 1, I don't know how it works. Stage 1, level 1 cleared. Yes. So that is level 1 cleared. Now we'll move on to level 2, which features Ginyu Force members. Starting with Gildo, who is not too difficult. He has reduces received damage, immunity to being stunned, can't be sealed, and he may evade your attacks. You can lower his attack and defense if you need, but really Gildo is quite weak. His evasion is not really high enough to kind of be a bother, and really he's just pretty weak in general. He's not that tanky, and he can't really tank damage or anything, and yeah, he just dies really easily. So pretty straightforward fight there, I'm not gonna lie, pretty easy. And yeah, you should have the ability to keep him under wraps quite easily. So you can bring attack lowering and defense lowering if you need, but the main way to avoid evasion enemies is just to bring units that you've equipped or that are primed for additionals. The more attacks you fire, the more they'll evade, but the more attacks you fire, the more chance you have to hit. That's essentially the principle. But like I said, his evasion is really not too irritating. He says as he evades my unit. But yeah, we'll kill him in one blow. There we go, easy peasy. Obviously that LR does do a decent amount of damage, but I mean it's nothing too crazy. It's not like a 12 million attack stat or something, so you shouldn't have too many issues. Just make sure you're firing additionals, but like I said, his evasion really doesn't seem to be so high that it's something to be concerned about. Then we have Raccoon, who receives reduced damage, grants immunity to being stunned, and can't have his attack and defense lowered. Raccoon can be sealed, so if you are going to take him on, you can seal him up. Just take any unit that can seal him. There's quite a few options on the super side in terms of sealing, but on the extreme side, at least for me, I don't really have a hardcore sealer. On the super side, you have units like the World Tournament Chi-Chi, who you can take, who does do sealing. So yeah, there's a couple options on the super side, but on the extreme strength side, not so many options. Raccoon is pretty tanky, so try and bring a more crit focused team, and that should be able to net you the damage that you need to take him out, and you should be more than fine. So yeah, just a little bit of a tankier guy in the form of Raccoon, but you shouldn't have too many problems with him. Just try and seal him. That'll be your best bet. It'll stop him dishing out too much damage. Free-to-play units like B-Pan really do help here with their ability to take damage and heal, although I'm saving her for the more challenging physical fight. And then of course you can, like I said, bring a sealer, and that'll probably keep everything under wraps. Everything else is really not too bad. He doesn't hit too hard, so overall another pretty easy one. Just make sure you get some crits to chunk him down a little bit easier. Units like this Frieza and all that obviously do really well, so you know, just one of those things. But yeah, sealing's your best bet. If you can't do that, just bring crits and chunk him down. Should have enough to take him out in a DPS race. He hits relatively hard, but nothing too crazy. And even when he lowers the defense of the enemy, it's not enough to really make it too bad. So another relatively simple, straightforward fight. This next one does ramp up a little bit, makes it a little bit more interesting. So we will take a look at that now. Obviously pretty straightforward there. So the next fight is against Captain Ginyu, and he is going to transform from Ginyu into the Captain Ginyu Goku's body, or Captain Ginyu's stolen body, or whatever. He receives reduced damage, immunity to being stunned, immune to the ceiling effect, and cannot have his attack and defense lowered. So it's getting to that part of the Virtual Dokkan Ultimate Clash. We're going to take the super physical team. Pretty strong team now that it's got some good free-to-play options in the form of Master Roshi, the UI Goku, the Prime Battle Krillin. All solid free-to-play options for this team that can tank somewhat decently, do decent damage. Not spectacular, but just very good. So nothing wrong with them, just super solid units and everything. So all more than fine. And overall, this fight wasn't too bad. Captain Ginyu can technically give you some issues if he supers units like the EZA Vegeta Blue, but I mean, he doesn't do that much damage, and he is not too tanky. So overall, a pretty straightforward fight, to be honest with you. Nothing really that I think was too difficult, nothing that felt impossible, but yeah, it definitely was something that I think some new players might struggle with. Super physical is the kind of team that really only has one or two kind of leads going on for it. You can kind of go with like a worthy rivals based team, or you can kind of go for like a pure Saiyan superclass hybrid team, or you're lucky enough in that you have the physical Go tanks. But the units themselves can kind of somewhat not pair up too great, so it's just going to depend on what you got. But if you take the Prime Battle Krillin and you take the UI Goku, you will be able to activate the revival skill from Master Roshi, so you should be more than fine overall with just like taking on the stage. You shouldn't suffer too much damage or anything like that. If you have the physical Go tanks, then great. He is a really big help, obviously, with his leader skill and with the fact that he's quite impactful from a damage point of view, and his defense is not bad now anymore. So yeah, definitely a much better team since his EZA. But yeah, you can still rely on units like the EZA Vegeta Blue to carry a lot of the offensive load, and then just see how you go from there. But as you can see, we've transformed good old Captain Ginyu. He is now in his Goku's body, who he stole off screen, obviously. And so yeah, pretty straightforward. I've got a bit unlucky in this run with Ginyu supering Vegeta Blue a couple times, without him having fired his super attacks, without him getting multiple super attacks. So yeah, really overall, like, a okay run. I definitely could have got a bit more luck, but really not too hard. As you can see, even with the bad luck, we still managed to handle everything perfectly fine. So yeah, nothing too crazy there. EZA Vegeta Blue going to kind of basically sort it all out for us. And that is level 2 completed. So now there's only level 3 left. Level 3 will have 3 fights as well, basically being the final fight. I don't know why they split the special editions into 3-3-3, but basically the final round will have 3 fights. The first being Piccolo, then Kaioken Goku, and then finally Frieza. On Piccolo's side, he reduces received damage, has immunity to being stunned, disables attack and defense reduction, and recovers HP. He can be sealed, which is important to note. So if you are taking on Piccolo and you have a sealer, that's going to help you out quite a bit to prevent damage from him. He will be transforming or assimilating Nail after you fight him and clear him out the first time. But luckily you also have a really solid free-to-play option in the form of the Tien and Master Roshi here, who are a sealing type unit. There's also a couple strong free-to-play units in the form of the Goku and Gohan card, and in the form of the Prime Battle Goku as well, along with the Oob. So there's quite a few solid options for you to take into this stage. So there's no real issues that you should face. That being said, Piccolo himself didn't seem to be too much of a nuisance. It took us a little bit of time to ramp up, mainly due to the slightly wonky links that exist on my Super Tech team. But beyond that, there really wasn't too much issues, or too many issues, I should say. So realistically, it wasn't that big a deal. The only real thing I can highlight pretty much is just that Piccolo might catch you unawares with a super attack, but if you get him sealed up, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. So overall, really not anything too crazy. He is relatively tanky. He can take quite a bit of punishment comparatively to the other units. So just keep an eye on that and try and get some crits going, or bring some high damage units that you can kind of slot in around the situation. But yeah, realistically, overall, Piccolo wasn't that much of a hassle. Took a little bit longer than the other fights, but it felt a lot safer than some of the other fights. So realistically, wasn't too concerned overall. The Super Tech team I took was a little bit low damage, which, you know, was a bit of a problem. So that is something that I'd like to highlight. But beyond that, everything should be more than fine, really. So yeah, pretty straightforward. In terms of team build, you could definitely pick up some slightly more offensive based units. But I think in terms of free-to-play units, you know, the Oob is definitely pretty good with his sealing and everything. Hercule is a solid option if you have him. So yeah, really just depends on what your flavor or your cup of tea is personally. But the Master Tien and Roshi did really well. They actually managed to not tank or take too much damage, and their sealing really came in handy. It kept everything kind of nice, smooth, you know, really like not allowing Piccolo to get out of hand, I should say. The Goku, the Prime Battle Goku, he did alright. Obviously in the first slot he generates some keys, so is something that you probably should highlight. And yeah, overall, pretty decent performance. A bit slow, but yeah, pretty easy. No real gimmicks from Piccolo either. Nothing really that makes you go like, wow, ooh, that was irritating. Nothing like that. Just he was pretty straightforward. He does heal. He can heal a little bit in his second form, which was mildly infuriating, just from the aspect of, constantly healing up the damage. But it wasn't often enough or large enough really to make me feel frustrated. And yeah, just realistically was not that big a deal. So overall, really not too phased. Piccolo himself was otherwise pretty stock standard. The new EZA that came out for the anniversary for the LR Goku and Frieza is probably really helpful as well. That 120% tech leader skill plus the Reps of Universe 7 skill really did help out. That sub tech lead on them really, kind of increases the capacity of the tech leads that you have. So yeah, pretty straightforward. And Piccolo didn't transform. Maybe I was wrong. He doesn't transform. He stays as Piccolo and he dies. So there we go. He just heals, which is mildly irritating. So yeah. Then we have Goku reduces received damage, immunity to being stunned, and may evade enemies' attacks. So Goku, good old Goku over here, can be sealed. So again, you're going to want to take a sealer. You can take a unit like Chi-Chi, as mentioned before. I'm not going to take a sealer. I'm just going to kill him with pure damage. But it's advisable for you to take a sealer. He can hit quite hard on his super attacks, actually. So taking a sealer is actually going to help you out quite a bit. He actually does hit pretty decently in general, but especially with his super attacks. He can hit nice chunks of damage. Fortunately, this team got a buff recently the Easy A for Pan really helped out, obviously making her a more reliable tank and increasing the amount of damage she heals, which is very, very good. Because obviously it helps us with keeping our health topped up. Pan's a real massive help in this stage. Just overall, the amount she heals up really helps us out. If you are using Vegeta, please make sure to get his 18 key so that you can get the massively raise his defense, because that's going to be necessary. He can take quite a large chunk of damage from your boy Goku, as you can see there. When Goku supers, he'll do a decent whack of damage. He can dish out, he does it, close to 100k, so he can do some decent damage for sure. Even to units like Strength Vegeta and things like that, he can dish out some decent DPS, so sealing him up would be ideal, but other than that, it's not really too much of an issue. If you are able to out DPS him, it's not a problem. You will be a little bit frustrated. He does tend to evade a little bit more than the Gildo. He has a higher evasion for sure, so that can be a tad frustrating, but nothing too crazy unless you're reliant on 1 or 2 units for that damage. You can see here he does a decent chunk to good old Strength Vegeta, which is one of the better defensive units in the game, so you can see he's hitting decently hard, but beyond that, nothing too crazy. Everything should be more than fine. If you get the attacks in, you should be okay. You can see the 55% strength SS4 Goku taking a little bit of damage as well. Kefla with 3 dupes, she'll take a bit of damage. Goku does a solid amount of damage, but keeping yourself topped up health-wise with the B-Pan, making sure that you put her in the way of a lot of attacks, getting the seal off will just help reduce the amount of damage that you can take, and really improve overall just your tankiness in this event. So try and keep your eye on things like that, but other than that, there's really nothing too crazy. As you can see here, Goku will still do some decent damage to B-Pan as well, 44,000, so you can see that Goku's really dishing out some decent damage. Fortunately, B-Pan heals a crap ton, so we're basically topped up back to full. That's really one of her biggest perks. So yeah, overall, pretty straightforward really. Keeps us nice and topped up, makes life a lot easier. We didn't get the 18 key with Vegeta, so you'll see Vegeta start to take some damage. And yeah, that just highlights again how much damage this Goku does. So you'll see here, it dishes out quite a nice chunk of damage, 109k. So you're going to have to make sure that you just avoid taking unnecessary damage. But beyond that, everything should be fine. We're going to transform Vegeta here, just because it's fun, and then we'll come back. Yeah, so it's always great to transform them. It's always nice to see the animations. So really nothing too crazy here. Just keep yourself topped up and take out Goku. So yeah, once this fight is over, which it should be, with a crit and an attack from good old Vegeta, we'll see his Spirit Sword as well. Nice way to finish things up. We'll move on to the Frieza battle. So the Frieza battle is quite challenging. You can fortunately use Super AGL, and yeah, there's a couple options for Super AGL that I will highlight, but yeah, overall Frieza is pretty dang rough, so yeah, be prepared. But with Frieza is an extreme strength type. So with Frieza, what we're going to want to focus on is obviously getting a Super AGL team together. So he reduces received damage, has immunity to being stunned, immunity to being sealed, and can't have his attack and defense lowered. And Frieza hits pretty hard right out the gate. The best solution to taking on Frieza is going to actually be to run a Super AGL team, but to take someone like Super AGL Nail, he's going to be a great addition to this team, and taking along the free-to-play Easy A Piccolo will also help. The reason being is that Nail will actually be able to soak up so much damage from this Frieza and stack his defense and do a lot of damage in return because he'll have guaranteed crits. Units like Super Saiyan Bardock are also very, very good here because of that bonus that he gains against extreme types and Wicked Bloodlines enemies. So there are a couple of units that you can use, especially to take on the stage. So even though this is the team I'm using, if you have Nail, if you have Bardock, those units are definitely going to be units you're going to want to utilize. They are going to help you out tremendously with the stage. Other units that I recommend are the Super Saiyan Goten. He's pretty damn good. This Tapion Hirudegon card is also very good. Great tanky unit throughout the entire event. Those are some units I definitely would highlight that people might have. This Goten, after his easy air, defends well, and he has a lot of attack damage, so that's really helpful. But yeah, I definitely think those are the ones that, to be highlighted. But I do have Nail, I do have Bardock. I did not use them, but you can, if you have them, you definitely should. They're going to help you out tremendously. With all their bonuses that they receive against Frieza, they are going to help out tremendously. If you have the MUI Goku from the anniversary, he will also help you out quite a lot because of all of his crits and multiple attacks and his evasion. The biggest thing from Frieza is catching unnecessary super attacks early on, especially with the team I've gone with. It takes a while to build up. It's one of those teams, so definitely something to be aware of, that Frieza just hits hard throughout the entire event. He starts off at a decent clip, and he does grow from transformation to transformation. He does undergo 2 transformations, so be wary about that. And the best thing to do, or at least from my perspective, was I made sure that I kept getting all of these orbs with this Goku to help heal me up, keep me nice and topped up in terms of my health. That Goku generates AGL orbs, and he also heals per AGL orb, so he is actually quite a nice big bonus in terms of that healing. But other than that, there's not really much else I can highlight in terms of this Frieza. If you want, you could run a Super Saiyan hybrid team. If you have the Int Goku, he might be able to do some really good damage against this Frieza. The only issue is he might take some decent damage back, so it's just going to depend really on how quickly you think you can chunk through this Frieza. But pairing up that Goku with the AGL Gohan is a real big bonus. That being said, everything seems pretty, not straightforward. It's pretty tough, but it is doable. Like I said, highlight yourself. If you have Nail, if you have Bardock, definitely go for those guys, and you should be good to go. That being said, Frieza does seem to reduce in tankiness a little bit, which obviously helps out, but he is a very tough fight, a 3-phase fight. He's very long. You're going to need some kind of sustain. There's very few AGL units that are going to be able to take the damage from Frieza right off the bat. You're going to need pretty strong units in general, so just be careful about those kind of things, and you should be relatively good to go. But I would keep a second Super AGL team, and you even have space to keep an Extreme AGL team as backups. Definitely think it's going to be necessary, because at the end of the day, you are going to need to make sure that you can maximize the amount of healing and defense that you have. And if you keep a team for each phase essentially, then you should be good to go. So I would definitely build up and make sure that I have a team kept in reserve for each and every single phase. As you can see, Gohan's been stacking relatively well, and even he is still taking quite a decent chunk from supers. So units with damage reduction will come in handy. On the extreme side, we have the AGL Golden Frieza, who's very good, so he can be used to soak up some damage. But realistically, you do actually need to be somewhat careful. You can see here how I'm taking quite a fair chunk of damage from this third form Frieza, but you can see that units like the SS4 Vegeta can really dish out some decent damage in return. So we do have that as an option, but of course, it's still very difficult overall. Hirudegon here, transformation coming in handy. Obviously, the thing with the Hirudegon transformation is technically he may not guarantee you any kind of damage, but I guess he does save you from some damage and allows you some time to reset yourself. Some additionals and crits like that from him can chip away a little bit at Frieza, but I wouldn't say this was the most helpful giant form transformation at all. But Tapion himself is very, very tanky, especially after his EZA, so he's definitely a unit that I think you should be taking anyway. He's well worth it just from the fact that pretty much he's just going to be able to tank everything up as necessary. So that is a very solid thing with him. You can use this time to set up orbs, I guess, if you need to make sure that you want some orbs for your other units to pick up for healing or anything like that. And yeah, you can pretty much go from there. Unfortunately, that is one of the things with this stage. Orb management's going to be essential, so try to make sure that you either have orb changes or you have an ability to manage your orbs so that your high defense units are picking them up, so you're constantly restoring your health. That's really going to help you out. If you do have Nail or Bardock, obviously they are going to be stacking quite quickly, doing a lot of damage. So they're going to be your go-to units in terms of orbs. But like I said, it's pretty much straightforward from there. You can see I'm trying to manage the units that pick up the orbs, just so I can have a way of maximizing my health. I'm also using the active skill from SS4 Goku. The reason why is because I want to clear the third phase without Goku taking any damage, and trying to get the next units onto the board before Goku gets hit at the back end there, so that I can get out of this phase and start healing with the orbs. So just be aware of some of these things. Try and keep yourself topped up. Try and be aware, manage who's going to take so much damage from who, and just keep all these things in check. Eventually you'll get to final form Frieza, and he hits like a dang truck. But you should now start to be stacking to a high enough point. You can see there we have Gohan. Obviously I'm avoiding getting orbs with Gohan. Main reason, trying to get that big heal off of SS2 Goku. Then I'm giving some more AGL orbs to Goten, who's now at least managed to fire off a couple super attacks, stacking his defense quite well. And then we have Gohan, who's going to start doing some decent damage. Gohan himself has managed to stack up to a solid enough point, 240 or so thousand. But it's a very, I don't want to say rough, but it's a very long, arduous fight. There's 3 phases. You just need to be very careful about who takes what damage and where. As you can see though, Frieza's not as tanky as his first form and the second form state, but he still does a decent chunk of damage, 105k. So Goten's obviously taking quite a bit of damage there. So you just need to be aware of these things. But your units should start stacking up to a decent enough point. You can see here, I'm just checking how much Kale and Caulifla have stacked up to. And then of course we have the SS4 Vegeta closing things up. So we should be able to start wrapping up this stage. We're doing at least good damage to Frieza. Our units have built up their ki, they've built up their defense. We're not as vulnerable as we were earlier on. Obviously, like I said, if you have units like Nail, things are a bit easier. If you have units like Bardock, things are a bit easier. You might chunk them down faster, you might have less troubles and issues. So really it's just going to depend on what your box is looking like. But for the most part, I think definitely keep 2 super AGL teams, and if you can, keep a 3rd extreme AGL team as backup. The rest of the fights were relatively simple, so you should have the space for all those extra units, and then you should be more than fine. Again, you can see here, we're really just trying to get as many orbs as possible for that SS2 Goku, so that we can get as much healing back as possible. And then Frieza's going to get clapped here by Gohan. Well, after he claps Gohan, Gohan's going to clap back, and then everything should be fine. So the fight itself, pretty dang tough. Frieza hits hard the whole way through. Stacking units will help save you a little bit, but the main thing you're going to need to do is manage those orbs and get as much healing as possible. That's really the only way you're going to be able to clear out this event, and just managing your active skills and the units that you're using. But that's it, we managed to defeat Frieza, which was quite tough, I will admit it, but it's very well worth it. This is a bumper virtual clash, so you're getting a lot of stones, which is really awesome, plus a sticker, which is great as always. Gotta love those stickers, really cool. And that's it. That is the entire virtual Dokkan Ultimate Clash completed. If you guys are having any trouble, please leave your teams in the comments down below, or ask a question and I'll see if I can help you out. But that's going to be it from me, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. But until then, stay safe and bye.